Hi, I'm Becca Otis from Five Lines Pottery in Indianapolis, Indiana.
And I'm Ryan Durbin from RD Ceramics, located in Southgate, Kentucky.
And welcome to Wheel Talk.
Hey guys, we've loved answering all of your questions so far. If you'd like to hear your question on the podcast, please send them to us on Instagram at wheeltalkpodcast or by email to wheeltalkpodcast@gmail.com. Thanks.
Shoulda, woulda, coulda. Started! Hi, Ryan.
Hi, Becca.
You know what's funny? Is that every time I listen back to our intros, I laugh almost every single time. I laugh on the intro.
We feel like we have to do something different. It can't just be like a, hey, how's it going?
Hey.
How's your day?
We should be really boring one day. Like, hey. But like when I'm editing it, I always laugh. Always, always, always. Anyway, we're
not too bad. Living the dream, one nightmare at a time.
Whee! We are going to do a short episode today, but we have some exciting news. We finally updated we got a Patreon. Hooray!
Yes, we do.
Spirit fingers. That was, throwback. Anyway, so we have a Patreon now, and you can go on there and support us if you want. If you don't want to support us, that's fine too. But yeah, if you want to, it's there. It's www.patreon.com/wheeltalkpodcast. We will put it in a link tree on our Instagram, and it's also in the notes.
Yep, so it'll be in the show notes underneath this podcast episode, so...
And you should
all the future ones too. So
yeah, and you should go look at it anyway if you're not even going to support us, because we ranked our wheels in accordance with how much you give us. So
we'll let you think that over what you think that means, and then you can go there and see if we chose appropriately.
Yes.
And let us know if you disagree.
Yeah, you can disagree or agree with us, but we've committed to our answers.
We try to throw some different ones in there. We got some yays, we got some nays, we got and we got a good mixture there. So
yeah,
I think y'all will like it.
I feel so. Anyway, cool. Ryan, do you want me to read the question, or do you want to read the question?
Sure, you can start with the first one, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, and we're gonna just kind of spitball it, and then if we run into like 15 minutes and we run out of time or are over with the question, then we'll go to a new one. This is kind of new for us anyway. So, okay. I'm switching from extruded, cut, and placed handles to pulled from the cup handles. Matthew Kelly changed my mind. So what do you prefer, attached handles or pulled from the cup? Heavy pull pieces then attached to the mug to be pulled longer to attach. Which is more professional or non-amateuristic? Ooh, I feel like we could make this a whole episode. I didn't actually read the comment. We can just talk about handles.
Sure. We'll see how long that takes. I have a preference of how I do mine, and there's reasons why I do it a certain way.
And I have a preference for mine
too. You probably have a similar-ish way of doing it, I think.
No.
No?
No, we do our handles completely different.
Okay, I couldn't remember if you... Yeah, well, you still attach it and put it on. Okay, you do pull them separately. So how do you do your handles? We'll start there.
Okay. And we can talk about, like, what's more amateuristic or whatever. But I pull my handles... Well, sometimes I go back and forth, so I'm still working on it, but essentially I pull the handle and then I cut it off and then I attach it to the mug and I don't pull it any extra. So
you pull from a huge carrot and you make 10 to 15 at a time, or?
No, well, the last time I was doing handles, I was working with porcelain, so I had to attach immediately. So, because you can't, it'll crack. if you don't. So I would just pull from the carrot and then attach it, and then pull from the carrot and then attach it, and pull from the carrot and attach it. But before that, like right before that, before all, like I had a handle situation. You remember the handle debacle of 2020? The fucking
Yeah, I'm
clip.
guessing that's why you were trying some handles when you were at my studio and were trying it on Iceman to see if you had the same issues.
Yeah, which I didn't. But so before that, I did slabs of handles and then pulled them a little bit and then attached them.
Slabs. So were they chunkier than you needed, and you just used like one of those trimming tools, or you like rolled out slabs, cut them a certain width, and then just. I always feel like it would be hard to pull from a slab, wouldn't it?
I'm really good.
Well, I guess you're just thinning. You're just at that point you were just thinning it out and getting the like pulled like lines and stuff, so it doesn't look sharp.
Yeah, it just takes like half the time, and like, before that,
the slab approach or the newer approach where you pull it off the carrot.
Honestly, I think they take about the same amount of time, but I can get a thinner handle, a thinner, sleeker handle from the slab. So that's what I like about that. Because I feel like when you pull from the carrot, you can get a thinner one, but it just takes a lot more time, And then, so while it's wet, I don't form it. A lot of people will do the carrot, take the handle off, and then they'll form it over, like they'll hang it on a table or whatever. I don't do that. I just attach it directly to the mug immediately. So that's what's different about my
yeah. So some people do like the handle tunnel on the board, and then they'll let them firm up, and then slip and score and attach them like that.
Yeah, and I don't do that at all. I just slap it on the mug.
I try to avoid that. So my process has been the same for years. I do just a ball of clay that's probably about 7 ounces or not 7 ounces, 7. I don't know, whatever it is, 7 grams I think is what it is. It's like a ball the shape of a ping pong ball, kind of.
Yeah.
For like a regular mug. And then I roll that into a carrot and then slip and score that directly on the mug, and I pull from that. But I also like the hefty attached look at the top.
Yeah.
So you can see that it's an attached handle that's not meshed into it and smoothed into the body. And I mostly do that just for time efficiency. I feel like that's probably the quickest way that I can do it without.
Yeah.
I mean, I do still have to go one by one with the mugs, but I just get the mug at the right consistency out of my damp box. It's at leather hard. The clay is right out of the bag. Slip, score, add water. If I need to rehydrate anything, I can just dunk the mug in water, or I can add a little bit of water with a paintbrush around the attachment point.
Yeah.
Still slip and score. Get the handle on there nice and good on the top. Get the joint well. Get all the slip out of the edge there where it's joined, and then pull directly from that. So you do the pinching method on each side, get the length, and then dunk it in water and do the pull from both sides and all that stuff. And then I just attach it right to the bottom. And I don't have to touch it anymore. So that's the main reason that I do that.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't touch mine at all after I put them on. I feel like, I will explain further because you went into great depth of how you do it. So, okay, I pull the handle, I take my mug, I sometimes slip and score it, or score it. Sometimes I score it, most of the time I don't. And then I will attach the top, I'll push it in, and then I'll pull the handle up, and then push it back down to the bottom, and 2 thumbs on the bottom, and that's it.
When you do that motion with that pull up, are you actually pulling? I've seen you do that. Are you actually doing a pull on it, or are you just stretching it to kind of give it that memory of up and down?
I'm just stretching it. Sometimes if I pull it too short, I'll pull it, but I try not to.
Okay. I wasn't exactly sure when you do that motion if you were doing that for a specific reason or if that was to just get your handle in the right placement.
Get the handle in the right placement. And, and then I, on the very bottom of the handle, I use a punch, like a little stamp, and I stamp it in just to get it on there, just to make sure.
Yeah. And I don't like to slip and score the bottom part where I attach it. As long as the mug is at the right consistency, I'll just push it in really good.
Yeah.
And spread it. And it's pretty good attachment, so.
It's pretty good. Okay, so let's talk about other ways that people do handles. So, let's see, there's extruded handles, just extrusions, like Josh does that. So and so do we at Gravesco. So you extrude it in the shape that you want, and all you do is attach it and form it. The benefit to that is that your clay is not super wet, so it's usually the same wetness, consistency of the body of the mug.
I'd imagine that's pretty efficient, right?
Yeah, super fucking efficient.
I mean, you got to spend time throwing clay into the extruder and all that, and then pumping it through and making sure it's at the right consistency, and then using enough of it, but you still store a bunch of them in a damp box.
Yeah, but right? Like I made almost like 50 handles in like 10 minutes the other day. Like
made them with the extruder, not attached them. You just
made them, yeah. Just
shot
like
them out.
Extruded them out, yeah. And then like a ton of production pottery places do that, you know. Yeah. And then you just slip and score, and then there's the mold method. You know, like East Fork Pottery. Method. East Fork Pottery makes theirs with a mold and then cleans it up. I think it's I
wonder if anybody I guess there are a few people that are there some people that use a molded handle with a thrown body that's not a cast body? I feel like everybody that would be doing that.
Does Deedle throw hers? Or does she mold them?
Deedum?
Deedum.
I think she pinches hers. They're probably hand built.
The mugs?
Yeah, I think so.
I don't know.
I'm not sure.
You know what?
Because the thing is, if it's molded, it's got to fit perfectly, right?
Yeah. I have 2 mugs from Jennifer Beachy, who doesn't do pottery anymore, but she's amazing. And they are thrown bodies and little pinched handles, and they're the most comfortable handles. They're just like 2-finger handles, probably 1 finger for you, but they're just so comfy. Yeah, you can do a slab like I've done, where you just roll out a coil and then flatten that coil really quick, and then just put that on the mug. I've done that.
How is Pines Inn Pottery's mug? Is that a slab handle? Amy's? Because her mug is a hand-built mug. Do you know how that one's done? I don't think that's pulled because it's very thin, I believe.
It's so thin. I think it's got to be a slab, but it's like the most delicately like smooth slab that you get. It looked pulled to me, but I don't think it is.
Yeah. So there's that method. I know a really common one is to use that like trimming tool. It's like a handle making tool.
Yep.
That you can just stick it into a block of clay, start from one side, pull it toward you, and that's going to give you basically a blank, kind of like an extruder of that shape. Diamond Core Tools has a bunch of those, like, I guess they call them handle making tools is how they're advertising them.
Yeah.
But yeah, they have a lot of those now that are kind of like a specific shape, and you pull them through the block of clay.
But they're $50. Like they're $50.
Are they?
They're $50 for the tool, and then it wastes so much clay to use those. I don't approve of those, but I don't approve of any of the handle making tools. I just think they waste too much.
I mean, there's got to be efficiencies that people have found when they're doing some of that. Like if that's the only thing they're doing, I'm sure they've found ways of. Or if they have a pug mill, like you just go through a block or half a block, and you make a bunch of them, and then you just throw the rest of it in a pug mill.
Right.
I don't know.
I've pugged handles out of a pug mill. It's a bitch. I wouldn't recommend getting the Peter Pugger handle attachment. It is a bitch, and you can't do it with soft clay. But When it works, they're really cool.
Yeah, I can imagine you got to get that mixture just the right consistency and like throw the attachment on there, and
It's a pain.
ideally it would work, but
Yeah, it's a pain. Yeah, I feel like that. Okay, I want to talk about the when I was at the shit, Kansas.
Danny Meisinger.
Yeah, it's when I was at the Danny Meisinger.
How do you forget this stuff? You gave such a big glowing recommendation for Danny, and you can't even remember his fucking name.
You know what, Ryan? I can't remember anything, okay? I lost my earbuds twice this week the minute I set them down, okay? Like, my memory is fucking shot. Anyway.
All right, anyways.
Anyway, he had this, like, really long conversation about handles, actually, and it was really enlightening because, here I am. I can't remember his name, but I can remember exactly what he said. He had this long conversation about handles and, like, what makes it look professional versus what makes it look like amateurish, or what makes a good handle, what makes a bad handle. And it's all just about how it feels in your hand, you know? I mean, he is of the opinion that the thumb line, you know how, like, some people put, like, a line
Down the spine of it.
down the spine of the handle. He's of that opinion that looks too country-ish. Like, it's like old school pottery, you know, it's not necessarily like high end. So
I would say if it's wide enough to have a line down the middle, it's probably too wide of a handle, in my opinion.
yeah, I mean, well, even if it's just like an indent, like mine has an indent, you know, like it indents in the middle. And so he was saying that, and so when we were doing handles, we were doing like one finger handles, and he was trying to show how to do a handle that doesn't have like an indent in it. It's more rounded, so it looks like more refined. And so I thought that was kind of interesting. Just his like take on handles and what makes it look more quote unquote high class, you know, as opposed to like old country bumpkin handles.
I think
Like
it depends on the
country
whole look of the piece too, because
Oh, totally.
like generally I don't like a coil, like a perfect cylinder like handle that's not flat on the top and bottom and like rounded on the sides. Hey, do you know what I'm talking about? Like where it's just like a straight tube, like a straw on there. Like I do not like the look of that. Like that
just
does not look comfortable.
like a round handle. Those are the fucking worst. They are so uncomfortable.
Yeah. And typically they're going to be like a perfect shape. It's not going to be contoured to like fit your your fingers to hold it, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I think that we can both agree that that's our least favorite handle.
I mean, generally I'm more of a 2-finger, 3-finger fan, but I'm not.
Yeah.
You know, I just got a mug that was in Kansas City that was a 1-finger handle mug, but like it's nice.
Dude, I saw that mug. That's the shit. That is so cool. See, that looks exactly like Danny's handles. I wonder if they learned from Danny.
I don't know, maybe.
Do you see how it's not, like, obviously nobody can see this, but if you join the Patreon, you will be able to. Do you see how it doesn't have, like, an indent in it? It's more like, you know.
You're talking about on the edge here?
Yeah. Like the...
Yeah, it's
not grooved.
Like, the highest point is at the apex of the handle. It's not sunken in the middle.
Exactly.
Which is how I like it, too. But, yeah, I think I really like the shelf aspect where you're going to put your fingers so that it kind of rests on something. Yeah. I don't like the handles that go downward generally because I don't like cut my hand around it, my fingers around it. I like kind of use it kind of like a shelf.
Right. I remember one customer made me make this handle that was so fucking ugly, and it was the most comfortable handle I've ever held.
Really?
Yeah, it went down. It was like an ear, so it kind of like, it was my regular handle, so it curved out and up, and then it took a sharp turn in, and then down, and then in again. And it was like, so you could put your top 2 fingers in the top one and then your third finger resting on the outside.
Oh, that's weird.
Yeah, it was so ugly and it was so comfortable. And she was like, I know, it's so dumb. She goes, but it doesn't look great, but it feels great. I was like, you're correct.
What do you think about another aspect that I wonder, I don't like it, but what do you think about the little thumb thing?
The thumb, the thumb rest?
Yeah, the little thumb ball that gets added there.
I don't know.
I might
Sometimes
have a
I like
couple
'em.
mugs with that. I don't personally like the look of it, but
Yeah, I don't like the look of it. Sometimes I like them, but a lot of the times I don't. There was somebody I knew that would make mugs, and they were specific to the left or the right hand, and they would have a thumb indent on the side that I really enjoyed. That was really comfortable because it was like specifically there for your thumb to like rest on, you know?
given that you hold that mug in that specific way
Yeah.
and you're left-handed.
Right, or right-handed, you know, specifically to what it is. Yeah.
The other thing I think that stands out for the amateur professional look is if the handle goes above the lip. Generally, I don't like that. I don't know if that's a standard across the board or if that's just a preference for me.
I feel like I'm not one of those people that's like, you can't do this. Like, you should not do this. You should not do this. But that is probably the only thing that I'm like, no, you shouldn't have your handle above the rim. Unless there's a very good fucking reason for having it above the rim of your mug, you should not have a handle above the rim of the mug. And do we know why?
What if there's I would say it's mostly for balance, right?
No, it's so you can turn it upside down in your cupboard.
Or that. Yeah, it doesn't sit level, so it'll like sit up on the edge and kind of topple a little bit. I think it's mostly it throws off balance for me if I have the handle up here.
Well, that too. Yeah. That's like the only like snobbery-ish pottery thing that I subscribe to, I suppose.
But I think some of the other stuff is totally flexible with like where you place the handle. If it starts at the top or if it starts in the middle, it totally depends on the form and how wide it is, and you know how many fingers you can fit in it based on the proportions of the mug. Yeah. You know, I have some that are like lower that are okay, and they're only like 2 fingers.
I love the upside down handles. Like Isaac's shoe does an upside down handle. Pitch Pine Pottery does an upside down handle. And Isaac's is so comfortable. You don't have one of his, do you?
I don't. I probably have a couple pieces that have the upside down handle. I never got used to it, making it with an upside down handle when I was doing it, just because it always felt weird to attach it like on the inside of the opening.
Right.
It didn't feel like as secure of a attachment for me.
Right. Yeah. But
I can see if you get it right, I can see
the appeal.
It's nice, yeah.
It does fit really nice, I feel like, and it's lower to the base of the mug. I really like that. I think the biggest thing for me, if it's professional or amateur, it's not the style of the handle or the way that it like, you know, like everybody has a different handle. It's not that. It's not like if it doesn't have a groove or whatever. It's if like, you know when you can like tell when somebody's touched the handle 15 times because it's like crooked and it's got like fingerprints all over it and it's got like, you know, like it's like rugged a little bit and maybe like the angle is off because they couldn't get it right. That to me is what makes a good handle and a bad handle, is touching it way too much. Like, inappropriately. Like, if you're touching it and refining it with a sponge after it's dry, that's different. But, like...
Yeah, I don't even like that look. If you can see the sponge lines on it. Depends.
I mean, sometimes you don't. Sometimes you can hide them quite well. But, yeah, I mean, like, that to me is the biggest thing. Is just, like, if the attachments are sloppy and if the, you know...
Yeah, I can see that. Like, if it's a little crooked, or I think if you can just see the natural curve to it, if it's got a movement to it that's just nice and like graceful, and there's not any obstruction that'll
Right.
like break your eye as you're like looking at the shape of the handle.
Yeah. Like if it looks like it was forced, that's when I have an issue, I feel like.
It's funny looking
Nobody
at
can
these two.
see this,
Like,
but Ryan is literally examining all of his mugs.
these are well this is an old mug of mine.
Yeah.
It's kind of hard to see, but I can just see the differences in the handles of like,
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
this one doesn't have as much of a shelf and it's a little bulkier at the top, and it's like
wider.
sharp on the edge.
Yeah.
And then this one's like nice and soft on the edge.
Yeah,
the
a
attachment
soft
point
edge
is
is
really
really
refined.
important. A soft edge is really important, like on the corners of the handles. I feel like I miss those all the time, and that's like super.
Because I mean that's where the corner of your like knuckles are gonna, or
Knuckles
the
go,
inside of your
yeah.
knuckles are gonna be. So it's given that you hold it in that fashion and you don't like cup your hand around the body of it.
Yeah, I also find it fascinating that like a lot of people just find a handle that they like and they just stick to it. Like you found a handle you like and you just stuck to it, and I found a handle that I like and I have never done anything different. Like,
Yeah.
if the process has been different, the result has always been the same.
Yeah.
You know? It's like, once you find a handle that feels like it works for you, that's it. Signed, sealed, and delivered.
I'll just look at some other ones here.
Oh my god.
Yeah, I think playing around with the placement of it and the like amount of fingers it holds is a good thing to consider too.
Do you like my handles?
Yeah, they're comfortable. I like the yours aren't all the way at the top, right? It's a little bit lower.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I like the placement of that. Plus, you can fit like a good number of fingers in there.
Yeah. I like your handles. I have no problems with yours.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
I like the everybody's got their own different one. I wonder about some of these that are like decorative for decorative sake that's not like functional at all.
Yeah.
Like I wonder how, like you mentioned Isaac's handles, but I wonder how he's got those other ones that are like signs. How do you grab that? That's
I don't
just
know.
decorative, right?
Isaac, why don't you come on the podcast and tell us how to grab your fucking handles? Sorry. I'm sorry. I give Isaac so much shit. We both give each other so much shit. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, those are like, they're like pieces of little art, you know?
Yeah.
He's going to make me one that's a dancing sandwiches. Sorry.
Really?
I saw a meme that said dancing sandwiches. It was like soup or like bar, restaurant, dancing sandwiches. Or sandwiches dancing, that's what it was. It was sandwiches and then dancing. There were supposed to be two lines, but it looked the same. And I was like, can you please make me one that has sandwiches dancing? And also I want the hot dog dancing, like at the movie theater, you know, on the other side.
Wait,
So,
which type of sandwiches do you think would be dancing?
I don't know. Probably like a
Like that's
like
not a peanut butter and jelly, right?
no, it's got to be like a Jimmy John's type of sandwich, you know?
What about like an
Or-
Italian sub or something?
Yeah, like a po' boy or something like that.
What's a good dancer? Like a burrito dancing.
Or a obviously a hot dog.
Is it burrito
dancing.
a sandwich?
Yes, the burrito is a sandwich. A hot dog is a sandwich. A hamburger is a sandwich. A taco is a fucking sandwich. Like,
Ooh, we had some good tacos in Kansas City. They were tasty.
yeah. I gave Isaac all my glaze recipes, so he's giving me a mug.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, some of the handles are decorative for decorative sake, and they're not.
Yeah.
That consideration, and that's fine too. It's just understanding how the customer is going to use it, and
Right,
or
like
are
form
they
versus
not going to use
function.
it? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what is the most efficient way of making handles that you've seen?
Experienced? Like fastest?
It seems like the extruded way would probably be the least amount of time.
I think extruded, but like I think the extruded formed handle, like not just extruding a tube, you know, but like
The finished handle?
Yeah, like extruding a finished form handle is the fastest way.
That you cut to the right length that's consistent, and then you just slip and score, top, bottom, attach.
Yep.
And usually you're just curving that, right? You're not like smushing it on and like joining and all that stuff.
Right. I did one for a picture and I smushed it on, and it almost looked pulled. It like looked pulled, and it looked really good. So, yeah. But I also haven't I don't love holding an oval. So like if I was gonna do it, it'd have to be like a different shape.
Oh, I gotcha.
You know. I always feel like extruded handles are too wide. 100%.
Too wide, like on the spine of it, or side to side.
Side to side.
Side to side. Okay.
Not like depth. Side to side.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
They're just like they just feel too big for me, but I have small hands, so.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Some of the. I think my process would not be efficient if I scaled up and was making like 50 mugs a day or something like that, because that just seems inefficient.
If you extruded those pieces first and then attached them, it might be efficient.
Yeah. I mean, I could probably make a handle attach it to the mug and all that in probably 5 minutes.
Yeah. See, I can do a handle in a minute.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, are you including the time that you're spending extruding it?
No, like from the carrot, I can do it in a minute.
Okay.
Yeah. So ultimately, the carrot is always faster. The reason I stopped doing the carrot was because I would do such a large carrot and my arm would start hurting.
From holding it up?
Yeah, from holding it up, yeah. But it really is faster, like, really. If you're going to do a pulled handle, I feel like the carrot's the fastest way to do it. Personally, I think.
Yeah, I think whatever is the least amount of touching of the handle is what I'm going for. So that's why I like to attach it to the top, and then you pull, attach at the bottom, and then you're done. Like, there's no fiddling with it. There's no scoring it once the handle's like mostly pulled because it's off the carrot, and then it's like, all right, let's stick it on there. Is it going to look good at the attachment point, or do you have to join it in there and all that stuff? So
yeah, when I was taught, I was told, like, put the handle on, turn it over, touch it once to get the curve, and that's it.
Yeah.
So, but I feel like handles are just a huge debate. Like, handles are the thing that will go down in mug history as being like, nobody will ever agree on handles. No one will.
But it's total personal preference.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I know. I mean, like, it's fine.
How big your hand is, what you prefer, what you like the look of.
Yeah.
And just because I like my handles a certain way doesn't mean I don't like other people's handles that I use their mugs and like,
right.
Oh, that's a nice one.
Yeah, it's like Josh and I completely disagree on some. He has some mugs and I have some mugs, and we completely disagree. Like, I'm like, I fucking love that handle, and he's like, I fucking hate it. And, you know, like, we will never agree on certain things. And I think that that's important to note, that it's a completely personal preference, and really your customers should be deciding whether your handle is good or not, because they're the ones that are buying your mugs. So
right,
like, that's why doing shows is so great, because you can hear people, they'll pick it up and they'll be like, inevitably somebody will be like, yeah, well, you know, I just like handles that you can put 4 fingers in, or they'll pick it up and be like, oh wow,
yep,
this is really thick. Like people always critique your mugs, and that's why you can just sit back and listen and enjoy the show. Enjoy the show of them critiquing your shit right in front of you
Yep.
with no thought or care that you were there.
Yep. And you'll get those comments of people that want the humongous mug that sounds completely ridiculous,
Yes.
but they will still want it. Your biggest mug will not be big enough.
Can you make a 32-ounce mug?
It's like, what are you trying to do? Kill somebody with it? Like,
Aww.
plus you got to balance out the proportions. Like, usually the handles look so bulky and chunky that it doesn't make sense. So when I make those big mugs that are like 1.5 pounds when I throw them,
Yeah.
like the handle's got to look right.
Yeah.
It's got to be proportional. It's got to not look weird.
Yeah.
Like, you don't make it obviously huge for those people that are going to want it obviously huge. It still has to look good and proportional that I'm, like, proud of.
You know when people ask me for a 32-ounce mug, I say, you mean a 32-ounce beer mug?
A Stein.
Like a
or a
Stein,
pitcher.
because I will not make you a mug to put 32 ounces of coffee in it. You're going to fucking die. Like, oh, people.
Yeah, that's a beer Stein.
I would never make a 32-ounce mug anyway. That's absolutely ridiculous.
I think the biggest one I had at a show earlier this year was 26 ounces, I think. 24 ounces, something like that.
Oh, yeah. I've made 24-ounce mugs. Tons of them.
And
But they were all for beer.
She loved it.
Yeah. Okay, we're at 35 minutes.
All right,
36
and that's handle
actually.
talk.
Pew, 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 pew. Ah! Okay.
All the handles. All right, bye, guys.
Hey guys, thank you so much for listening to our podcast. We really appreciate it, and we're having so much fun. If you want to follow us individually on Instagram, you totally can. Ryan's Instagram handle is @RDCeramics, and mine is 5 Lines Pottery. That's the number 5. We would love to hear from you, and don't forget to write us a review on our podcast. We read every single one of them, and we totally appreciate them. They help us out an awful lot, and they also put smiles on our faces. I hope you guys continue to listen, and we love you. Thanks. Bye.